In the world of WWE, where scripted drama and reality often blur together, not everything that happens in the ring is just an act. The passion, fury, and raw emotion of fans can sometimes spiral out of control, turning a staged performance into a deadly encounter. There have been wrestlers who nearly lost their lives simply because they played their villainous roles too convincingly. From shocking backstage attacks to violent brawls breaking out among thousands of spectators, these are the terrifying moments that shook the entire wrestling world to its core. So brace yourself, because we're about to uncover the dark, dangerous side of fan obsession that few ever see. Let's dive right in. Wrestling Sphere, go! 1. Roddy Piper, when fan hatred turned deadly. No one could make the crowd love and hate him at the same time, quite like Hot Rod Roddy Piper. With his natural gift for provocation and arrogant swagger, he was a nightmare for fans in the stands, and at times, that hostility nearly cost him his life. Few people know that throughout his controversial career, Piper was stabbed 3 times, but the most terrifying incident occurred in the early 1980s in Raleigh, North Carolina. After an especially heated performance, Piper was leaving the arena when a fan armed with a knife suddenly charged at him from a distance. Piper spotted the attacker and quickly positioned himself behind a nearby post to defend, but in a brief moment of distraction, the assailant lunged forward. The blade pierced Piper's chest, stopping just an inch from his heart, an inch that made the difference between survival and tragedy. Blood poured out, and for a moment, it seemed everything could end right there. Fortunately, police officers arrived just in time to subdue the attacker. The situation nearly escalated even further when one of the officers, caught in the chaos, almost pulled the trigger before his commanding officer intervened. Piper would later recall that it was the only time he had ever seen someone nearly die right before his eyes, an image that stayed with him for the rest of his life. This horrifying episode served as a stark reminder that while Piper may have been performing to entertain, the hatred some fans felt toward his character often blurred the line between fiction and reality. In professional wrestling, the fights inside the ring might be scripted, but sometimes, the real danger came from outside it. 2. Jesse, the Body Ventura, when words almost cost him his life. Flashy, confident, and razor-sharp, Jesse, the Body Ventura was always the center of attention, both inside and outside the ring. With his natural gift of gab and cocky demeanor, Ventura could make the crowd seethe with anger yet remain completely captivated by him. That sharp tongue would later open doors for him in Hollywood and even help launch his political career. But before becoming a media icon, Jesse Ventura was once one of the most despised villains in wrestling, and one night in Eugene, Oregon, he learned just how dangerous it could be to make the wrong crowd angry. That night, after his match ended, chaos suddenly broke out in the stands, forcing police officers to intervene. Meanwhile, Ventura was making his way backstage alone. As he neared the curtain, still catching his breath, a 16-year-old boy suddenly charged at him from behind the arena. In his hand was a 10-inch hunting knife that glinted under the arena lights as the teen shouted, "Ventura! I'm gonna stab you!" Ventura believed the boy had been enraged by something he'd said while taunting the audience earlier. Despite his Navy SEAL training, Ventura knew that any attempt to fight back could end in disaster if he made even the slightest mistake. In that split second of pure tension, luck was on his side. A plainclothes police officer in the crowd lunged in and subdued the teen before the blade could reach Ventura. That night, Jesse, the Body Ventura, not only survived a near-fatal attack but also realized that in the world of professional wrestling, words can be sharper and far more dangerous than any punch thrown in the ring. 3. Dean Ambrose, when fan obsession turned into a real-life threat. During a WWE SmackDown taping, reportedly on August 29, 2015, Dean Ambrose narrowly escaped a situation that could have ended in disaster. As he made his way to the ring near the entrance ramp, a fan suddenly leapt over the barricade and charged straight toward him, sending shockwaves through the crowd and throwing security into a frenzy. Early reports suggested the fan might have been carrying a sharp object, possibly a knife or another pointed weapon, though this was never officially confirmed. It also remained unclear what drove the intruder to act that way. Did he truly intend to harm Ambrose, or had he simply lost control in a moment of reckless excitement? Whatever the motive, the incident instantly transformed what should have been a normal entertainment event into a potentially deadly encounter. Fortunately, the arena security team reacted with incredible speed. They tackled and restrained the fan before he could reach Ambrose, preventing any injuries and restoring order within seconds. Thanks to their quick response, the show resumed without further disruption. This incident stands as a stark reminder that in professional wrestling, the line between performance and real danger can be frighteningly thin. A single impulsive fan, whether acting out of obsession, anger, or misplaced enthusiasm, can turn a scripted spectacle into chaos. For Dean Ambrose, a man known for his wild, fearless persona inside the ring, that night was a sobering lesson. Not every threat comes from an opponent. Sometimes, the real danger lurks just beyond the barricade. 4. Brian Knobbs, when the real fight began outside the ring. No one could say for sure whether the attackers that night were overzealous wrestling fans or just troublemakers looking for a fight, but one thing was certain, they knew exactly who Brian Knobbs was. Just 2 weeks before the 1992 Royal Rumble, Knobbs, one half of the legendary tag team the Nasty Boys, was leaving a live show in Peoria, Illinois, alongside his partner Jerry Saggs and fellow wrestler Erwin R. Shyster when a car carrying 4 young men began tailing them on the highway. What started as an ordinary drive quickly turned into a nightmare. According to court testimony, the other car repeatedly swerved and tried to force Knobbs off the road until he finally pulled over. When he stepped out to confront them, one of the 4 men, 20-year-old David Miller, suddenly pulled out a knife and stabbed Knobbs in the chest. Amid the chaos, Saggs was also attacked by 19-year-old Chad Rains, who swung at him with a battery cable, escalating the brawl into complete mayhem. A 16-year-old girl who was with the group later testified that it was indeed Miller who stabbed Knobbs. The wound caused severe blood loss and forced Knobbs to withdraw from that year's Royal Rumble, costing him the chance to appear at one of WWE's biggest events. Yet what truly amazed fans was Knobbs' sheer toughness. Just 1 week after the Royal Rumble, he returned to TV tapings with the same wild energy, loud attitude, and fearless demeanor that made the Nasty Boys famous. Despite coming dangerously close to losing his life, Brian Knobbs proved himself to be a true fighter, one who couldn't be taken down, not even by a knife. 5. Blackjack Mulligan, when a fan became a potential killer. Blackjack Mulligan wasn't just a legend in professional wrestling, he was the cornerstone of one of WWE's most iconic families. He was the father of Barry and Kendall Windham, the father-in-law of Mike Rotunda, and the grandfather of 2 well-known stars, Bo Dallas and Bray Wyatt. While the entire family carried a tough and rugged image, Mulligan stood out as the most intimidating of them all. Standing around 6 feet 8 inches tall and weighing over 300 pounds, he looked like a real-life cowboy straight out of the Wild West. Thick beard, fierce eyes, and an aura of raw confidence. Inside the ring, Mulligan wasn't afraid of anyone, having gone toe-to-toe with legends like Andre the Giant, proving he feared no man. But one night, he faced something far more terrifying than any opponent, a crazed fan ready to kill. In 1971, during a match against WWF champion Pedro Morales at the Boston Garden, the crowd was electric when suddenly, chaos erupted. A spectator jumped over the barricade, wielding a sharp knife, and lunged at Mulligan, stabbing him in the thigh. Blood gushed out instantly, freezing the entire arena in shock. In that instant, the illusion of sports entertainment vanished completely. Gorilla Monsoon, one of the most respected wrestlers of that era, rushed in and tackled the attacker, saving Mulligan's life before it was too late. According to the Boston Globe, the towels used to stop the bleeding were soaked red within moments, and Mulligan needed more than 100 stitches to survive the brutal assault. It was a night he would never forget, a chilling reminder of how thin the line can be between fan passion and deadly obsession, where a wrestling ring can transform from a stage of entertainment into a scene of real-life horror. 6. Classy, Freddy Blassie, when fame turned into a deadly curse. If there was ever a legend who truly thrived on his own notoriety, it was Classy Freddy Blassie, the suave yet dangerous gentleman of Hollywood. In his later years, fans remembered him as a respected figure, almost a grandfatherly presence in WWE history. But at the height of his career, Blassie was nothing short of a nightmare, a perfect villain who drew both hatred and fascination from thousands of spectators. Blassie didn't just play the role of a heel, he lived it. He famously filed his own teeth into razor-sharp fangs and bit his opponents until real blood spilled across the mat, a shocking testament to his extreme dedication to the craft. That same intensity made him magnetic, but it also painted a target on his back for unhinged fans consumed by rage and obsession. Blassie once recounted, half with pride and half in horror, that he had narrowly escaped death multiple times. He'd been stabbed, had his car set on fire, and was even attacked in public. Yet the most horrifying incident came in the early 1960s, during a title defense against Lord James Blears. As Blassie made his way to the ring, a group of teenagers hurled acid onto his back. At first, he thought it was just water, until a searing pain spread across his skin, as if it were burning alive. The stench of charred flesh filled the arena so intensely that Blears vomited right there in the ring. The match was immediately cancelled, and Blassie was rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment. But in true, classy fashion, just 3 days later, he returned to the ring as if nothing had happened. An astonishing display of resilience and toughness from one of the greatest and most polarizing legends in WWE history. 7. Nature Boy, Paul Lee, when the act turned into a life-or-death moment. These days, fans storming the ring to attack a wrestler is almost unheard of, but that doesn't mean it never happens. The most shocking modern example took place at an American Wrestling Federation event in Ringgold, Georgia, in June 2016. That night, veteran performer and seasoned heel, Nature Boy, Paul Lee, was in what seemed like a routine match, until the scripted drama turned into a real-life fight for survival. While Lee was hammering his opponent, who was tied up in the ropes, with a steel chair, a typical act for a villain of his caliber, chaos suddenly erupted. A woman from the audience charged into the ring, but she wasn't just any crazed fan. Her name was Patricia Ann Crow, 59 years old, and she pulled out a handgun, pointing it directly at Paul Lee in front of more than 150 horrified spectators. Lee later explained that he had taunted Crow earlier in the show, just as any experienced heel would to stir up the crowd. He had sneered at her, shouting, "Sit down, toothless!" A throwaway insult that, unbeknownst to him, pushed her over the edge. Within seconds, what was meant to be entertainment turned into a deadly confrontation. Fortunately, security acted quickly, tackling Crow before she could pull the trigger. Incredibly, just 2 days later, Crow was released on bail for only $4,000, a decision that left the wrestling community furious. In the aftermath, the promotion tightened security measures and even considered installing metal detectors at future events. The incident served as a chilling reminder that while professional wrestling may be scripted, the danger surrounding it is all too real, and sometimes, the biggest threat doesn't come from the ring, but from the audience watching it. 8. Ole Anderson, when a Four Horsemen legend faced a real blade. As one of the founding members of the legendary Four Horsemen, Ole Anderson was the embodiment of toughness and grit. Among a roster packed with hard-hitting names like Arn Anderson, Barry Windham, and former football star Steve McMichael, Ole stood out for his cold demeanor, raw aggression, and fearless fighting spirit. But that same intensity would cost him dearly on one fateful night in 1976 in Greenville, South Carolina. That evening, Ole and his Kayfabe brother, Gene Anderson, had just finished defending their NWA World Tag Team Championship. As the two made their way backstage amid a chorus of boos, no one could have predicted the violence that was about to unfold. Out of nowhere, an elderly man, identified as 82-year-old Oscar Ramsey, rushed toward Ole and stabbed him with a hook-shaped knife, a curved blade so sharp that a single strike could cause devastating injury. The knife tore into Ole's arm and chest, leaving him bleeding heavily. He was rushed to the hospital in critical condition and underwent a grueling 4-hour surgery to repair torn tendons and close dozens of deep wounds across his arm and torso. Yet, true to his reputation as the Iron Man, Ole Anderson returned to the ring just 2 nights later for a Mid-Atlantic wrestling taping, showing no sign of weakness, as if the brutal attack had never happened. The incident not only reinforced his image as one of wrestling's toughest men, but also served as a stark reminder of the blurred line between fiction and reality. In Ole Anderson's case, being a villain didn't just mean playing the part, it meant shedding real blood to keep the story alive. 9. Bobby, the Brain, Heenan, when a heel manager became a real-life target. When it comes to the greatest villainous managers in WWE history, Bobby, the Brain Heenan stands at the top of the list. With his razor-sharp wit and unmatched manipulation skills, Heenan had a rare ability to make fans both despise and adore him at the same time. But that same notoriety often came with genuine danger. In the 1980s, WWE crowds mocked him harmlessly with chants of Weasel. But back in his AWA days, fan hatred occasionally crossed into deadly territory. In January 1975, at the International Amphitheater in Chicago, Heenan accompanied his protege Nick Bockwinkel in a title match against Vern Gagne. Playing his heel role to perfection, Heenan repeatedly interfered in the bout, pushing one fan's anger beyond control. Suddenly, chaos erupted. A man in the audience pulled out a handgun and fired directly at Heenan. Miraculously, Heenan managed to dodge the bullet, but 5 nearby spectators were hit, and one was critically injured. Heenan later recalled hearing the gunman shout moments before pulling the trigger, "Don't worry, I'll take him down." Meanwhile, Bockwinkel remembered the shocking sight of fans rushing to help a woman who'd been shot in the shoulder. Even more disturbing was what came afterward. The shooter was never caught, and according to several reports, he continued attending wrestling shows as if nothing had ever happened. The incident perfectly illustrated just how deep Heenan's ability to provoke emotion truly went. More importantly, it served as a chilling reminder of how thin the line can be between performance and peril, where one split second, one act of misplaced rage, can turn a scripted spectacle into a life-or-death tragedy. 10. Jim Cornette, when comedy nearly turned into catastrophe. When it comes to figures who could make the audience both love and hate them at the same time, Jim Cornette stands near the top of the list. Famous for his razor-sharp wit and a mouth that never stayed quiet, Cornette's words often pushed boundaries, and more than once, they almost got him killed. One of the most terrifying incidents happened alongside Dennis Condrey, his Midnight Express partner, in Houma, Louisiana. According to Cornette, that night they crossed paths with a group of over 10 drunken Cajun fans who clearly despised the Midnight Express. Things escalated fast when Condrey cursed out the group's leader. The man hurled an unopened beer can at him, missed, and in the blink of an eye, Condrey, known for his lightning-fast reflexes, kicked him square in the face, knocking him to the ground. Suddenly, the rest of the group charged. Surrounded by 11 enraged men, Cornette found himself clutching nothing but his signature tennis racket, completely outnumbered and painfully aware that one wrong move could end in disaster. Just as the situation seemed hopeless, help arrived from the most unexpected source. The Rock and Roll Express, their supposed on-screen rivals, came speeding onto the scene in their car, driving straight toward the mob. The chaos scattered the attackers long enough for Cornette and Condrey to leap into their vehicle and speed away into the night, escaping unharmed. Cornette would later recount the story with a mix of nostalgia and humor, but the incident remains a chilling reminder of how thin the line was between entertainment and real danger in 1980s professional wrestling. Back then, a single wrong word, or in this case, a well-timed kick, could turn a scripted rivalry into a very real fight for survival. 11. The Fabulous Freebirds, when fan passion turned into a real threat. Michael Hayes, Terry Gordy, and Buddy Roberts, better known as the legendary Fabulous Freebirds, were true icons of the 1980s, famous for their wild matches and heated rivalry with the Von Erich family. The hatred fans felt for them was usually confined to boos and jeers, but at times, that intensity spilled over the edge, turning into something far more dangerous. One of the most serious incidents took place in Bill Watts' Mid-South wrestling territory, where the Freebirds often clashed with beloved stars like Junkyard Dog and Buck Robley. During a tag team title match, the Freebirds defeated JYD and Robley, and chaos erupted immediately after. Playing the perfect villains, Michael Hayes threw hair removal cream into Junkyard Dog's eyes, blinding him as part of the storyline. But for some fans, the scene went too far. They genuinely believed they had just witnessed an assault. Junkyard Dog, one of Mid-South's most adored heroes, played the role of a man temporarily blinded, emotionally claiming that if the Freebirds had really injured him, he might never get to see his newborn daughter again. That heartfelt detail only fueled the fans' fury. The tension reached its peak one night in New Orleans. Still in character, JYD sat at ringside wearing sunglasses and holding a cane, cheering on the babyfaces against the Freebirds. As Hayes taunted him from the ring, a fan in the audience lost control and stormed toward the ring, apparently trying to attack the Freebirds himself. Luckily, security reacted in time, stopping the man before anyone was hurt. This moment perfectly illustrated how dangerously thin the line could be between fiction and reality in professional wrestling. 4 top-tier villains like the Freebirds, being too convincing sometimes meant risking their lives. In the world of wrestling, when passion crosses the line, the same energy that fills arenas with excitement can instantly turn into a weapon of real destruction. 12. Psycho Stu, when the ring turned into a nightmare. On August 23, 2025, fans at KnockX Pro Wrestling Academy witnessed a moment that no one could forget. Dressed in ordinary clothes, Raja Jackson, the son of MMA legend Quinton "Rampage" Jackson, suddenly stepped outside the scripted performance, charged onto the ring, and targeted wrestler Stuart Smith, known by his ring name Psycho Stu. Everything happened so fast that the entire arena fell into chaos. Footage of the incident shows Jackson lifting Smith, slamming him to the mat, and continuing the assault. Dozens of punches rained down on the motionless wrestler's head and face, leaving the audience gasping with every second. Spectators could only watch as Smith suffered severe injuries. Multiple broken teeth, a torn lip, profuse facial bleeding, and serious jaw damage. The attack only stopped when security personnel rushed in to separate Jackson from his victim. Shortly afterward, Jackson was taken into custody by local authorities and had to post $50,000 bail to be released. However, this did nothing to remove the legal consequences he faced. Prosecutors planned to charge Raja with 2 counts: felony assault causing serious bodily injury and misdemeanor battery. Under current sentencing guidelines, the felony could carry up to 4 years in prison, while the misdemeanor adds up to an additional year if any appeal fails. The incident not only shook the indie wrestling community but also served as a stark reminder of how fragile the line is between staged entertainment and real violence. A moment meant for spectacle transformed into a nightmare, leaving lasting repercussions for both the victim and the assailant, and underscoring that, in the ring, the boundary between fantasy and reality can be as thin as a sheet of paper. These stories reveal just how thin the line is between passion and madness in the world of wrestling. If you found this video fascinating, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any more shocking stories from Wrestling Sphere.